Hello. Today we continue from the last time about the why is it important to understand other cultures นะคะวันนี้เราก็จะมาพูดกันต่อนะคะเรื่องของว่าทำไมเราจึงมีความจำเป็นที่จะต้องเข้าใจความแตกต่างทางวัฒนธรรมนะคะวันนี้อาจารย์เจก็จะมาเล่าประสบการณ์ของอาจารย์ก่อนค่ะอาจารย์เจ you would like to share with us your experience about different culture.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Um, many times understanding cultural differences can increase your business. You can make more money by as if you deal with any foreigners. Understanding them, understanding what they want, understanding how they communicate, nonverbal communication can make a big difference, and you can increase your business. One example, a personal experience. Several years ago, I rented a townhouse, and it had no curtains, not even in my bedroom. And so I went to a curtain store, and the woman spoke very good English. She spoke very good English. There was no problem with that. But there was nothing in the store that was simple. Most Westerners have more simple taste, simple. I just wanted very plain, simple curtains and some wood blinds, and everything had tassels and flowers, and I kept at, do you have anything more simple? And then finally I looked all around the store and there wasn't anything. So I went to store number two, and they had some beautiful things, some very simple. Again, the woman spoke English, very very good English, but she wouldn't leave me alone, and she kept talking and talking. And I had my selections narrowed down to the blinds and some different, like three or four different curtains, and I was sitting and I was just trying to decide which one I wanted, and she wouldn't be quiet. And in Western culture, if we're making a big decision, we want quiet and also space. And she was standing very, very, very close to me, yeah, she just wouldn't. And I asked her, I was like, "Can I just have a few minutes? I just need to think about this alone." And she seemed offended, and I didn't mean to offend her. I just needed time alone to think about what I wanted. She didn't know what my house looked like, and she just kept talking, and I couldn't think. And so she seemed offended, and then she walked away and told the other her colleagues, and so she sent this woman over, another woman over, and she sat right beside me, very 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 close, and just stared at me. And so I left. Yeah, I was so uncomfortable.
Yeah, some salespersons are like that. They just follow you every step.
Yeah, and in Western culture, that's what you do if you want someone to leave the store.
But I think nowadays in big store they have a training for this. Yeah, but in some small store they just act according to their style, I would say.
Some. I've had a lot of experiences where they won't let me look around, and they just keep talking, and in Western culture, like what's considered a good salesperson, they're not talking, they're asking questions. What are you looking for? What does your house look like? What color are your walls? They're asking these questions, but just following me around and talking, they're usually saying stuff I'm just not interested in. But so anyway, to my curtain story.
So finally, did you buy
Yes, I
from
did.
her?
No, I went to a third store, and the woman spoke no English whatsoever. But she understood a lot of different things about Western culture. We had absolutely no problem communicating because she understood what I was looking for. I looked at some simple things. She brought me more simple things to look at, and I had narrowed my selection. And she made this gesture that was just, I don't even remember what the gesture was, but it told me, take your time. And she went over to her desk and worked on something else and left me alone. And I loved it. And I chose what I wanted. And when they came to measure, I was afraid because there's Americans hang their curtains differently than Thais. The way we have them installed, it's completely different. Most Americans have their curtains installed as high as possible, close to the ceiling, and all the way to the floor, and wider than the window, like about 30 or 40 centimeters wider on each side. And I was so afraid that I wasn't going to be able to communicate that. She understood perfectly. I just pointed. I went all the way up, all the way to the floor. So she it's her business. So she evidently, if you watch American TV or movies, which I'm sure she does, she's paid attention and saw the curtains are hung differently, and it's her business. So it was absolutely no problem. And but all of my friends who I've told that story to, they're like, I don't understand how you communicated, because you don't speak very much Thai at all. How did you communicate and have all of this work done? And because I used her over and over, and for my new house. So she's made some good money off of me. But yeah, a lot of people are, how did you communicate? And I'm like, we have absolutely no problem communicating, because she understands more of like the cultural
maybe
issues.
she had the American clients before.
I don't, maybe.
So she know different types of people, different.
True. She may have. Anyway, so it's a good experience, but I think a funny story about how understanding the culture and cultural differences is sometimes more important than speaking the same language.
Yeah, and help with your business too.
Yeah, exactly.
At the very, standard level, not big company or
Right.
big supermarket. They might have the training and things like that.
Exactly.
But if you have a small shop and you know about this, then it helps with the business.
Exactly.
I have something rather different, Ajahn.
Okay.
I went to a big store selling all the fabric, and this lady salesperson asked me, we have the cheaper section. What do you think about that?
In the U.S.?
In here in Thailand,
Oh.
And I feel insulted, I mean,
Like she thought you looked poor?
it's very funny when you think about it.
Yeah, you could definitely take that two different ways. I mean, you could, thank you for the tip that there's some cheaper stuff, or hey, what, you think I don't have the money for this?
So I think culture is not only from different nature of people. I mean, different nation. I mean, not different like you're American or Thai or Indian or Korean or whatever. But sometimes it's the how you brought up, maybe.
Exactly.
Because I think there's something of the international things that we all share sometimes, and
There are, but I think you're totally right. I think within each country, within each culture, there are many cultural differences. A friend of mine who's Thai had a conversation with this woman, and it was where I used to work with her, and the woman was talking about something something not being compatible with Thai culture. I don't remember what it was, and after the woman left, my friend told me, she was like, I wanted to tell her, that's what you're saying, that's not Thai culture, that's your family. It's just your family, that's not all of Thai. But it's the same, in the United States. The United States is so big.
Yeah.
And people in the South speak different. We have different customs. We have different, and people in the North are completely different. People in the North speak more directly, and people in the South are known for their polite manners, and even within Thailand, Northeast culture is different from Bangkok culture,
Yeah.
different from Northwest. How do you say it?
The North Lana.
Lana culture, yes. Because I have friends from basically everywhere, and so I learn about different Thai cultural differences because
That's nice to be open. Ajahn, before we move to another perspective on culture, I have some little things that always hanging in my mind. When they're like American people, they call their father by first name sometimes, or the grandfather. Is it normal or?
No, that's not normal.
I feel very, very strange when
Yeah,
I listen to this. I mean, through the movies, of course. When I was in the States, I heard nobody say that.
No, I think in a movie, if they're showing that, I there could be different reasons, but many times, there are things that are done in a movie for a point that's in the movie. If it's a teenager calling their parents by their first name, it's usually trying to show that the teenager is obnoxious and not polite, not respectful. Showing that it's an obnoxious.
So it's not something to be like a model
No.
practice.
No. It's very, very rare that someone would call their mother or father or grandfather by their first name. There might be some, a few that would maybe think that it's modern, or but no, most people think that would be strange and disrespectful. And, on that topic, in movies, I get asked about a similar thing from friends often. They'll say that they've heard such and such, and they'll write it down, such and such sentence or question or saying in a movie, and the English is wrong. The English is bad, and I'm like, well, it's not proper English, and they're like, well, why would they say it in the movie? I'm like, well, was the person who said this supposed to be stupid? And yes. I'm like, well, they're showing that the person is stupid, by making his English really bad, because it's his own language. They're not making fun of someone, speaking a second language. It's an American. It's first English is her first language, and it's just to indicate that he can't even speak his own language.
John, I hear you have something about the environment issue.
Yes,
about feeding the birds.
Yeah, I found this on nwasianweekly.com. It's about feeding the birds, and I learned from this because it's a similar thing in Thailand, and I didn't know until I read this. This man wrote this article, and he said, when my grandma lived in Laos, she fed food scraps to stray animals, and then she moved to America. And in America, Americans typically feed birds in a bird feeder with store-bought seed, and but his grandmother washed out an old tofu box and put leftover grains and bread and old rice, and then she would dump it out on the sidewalk outside of her apartment. And that the landlord kept seeing all of this food out on the sidewalk, just dumped out on the sidewalk, and sent letters out to all of the tenants to not do that. It doesn't look nice and people might step in it. And anyway, so his grandmother was very embarrassed, and because she was just feeding the birds and animals, and didn't know that she was doing something considered rude or wrong. But yeah, when I moved to Thailand, I noticed that many times on the sidewalk there'd be just this food, and so I thought people just dropped it, like accidentally. I didn't understand. I'm like, gosh, a lot of clumsy people.
Maybe that's not that's in the country that you can do that, but in urbanized environment like in the city on the street, you should not do that anyway. I mean, even in Thailand.
I see it in Mung Tong every day. Every day.
What?
So I have to look down, so I step over it. Yeah. So if you,
I think in the country it's just because these foods, they are organic, like banana leaf and things like that, and when they throw it out on some, space, or so they think that it will be rotten and gone.
why do they put it on the sidewalk where people walk?
Oh yeah.
That's the beside the sidewalk, maybe in the plants or
Yeah, that's not nice anyway. Ajahn, and what else do you have to share us, Ajahn?
Funny
Share with
story.
us.
Funny story. About a confused Indian in Finland, the country Finland in Europe. So it's talking about in India, you'll notice that hotels seem very overstaffed. Just too many people working
Too many
there.
people working.
Which I often, I think all through Southeast Asia, that's just a common cultural phenomena. It's just there are just a lot more people working at stores, hotels than there are in the West. So many people working. Anyway, so this it says that in India, there will be 5 uniformed men standing in the driveway, waiting to open the door of the taxi at a hotel, and then there will be 2 people in the lobby, and inside the lobby there will be 12 people to greet you and point you in the direction that you're already walking, and they insist on carrying your bag even if it's just a small backpack. And once you check in, there will be 1 or 2 people to walk you to the elevator, and they press the button for you and take
I
you to
think
your
I
room.
like that.
You would? Okay.
Don't.
Then they give you a little tour of your room, show you where the TV is, the where the bathroom is, how the air conditioner works, and anyway, so that's what this Indian man was used to, because that's what they do in India. But to foreigners, it's like, oh my God, why are there so many people, and why are you showing me all of this stuff? Can you please just leave me alone? I guess Westerners, we just like to be left alone a lot. We don't like a lot of people around. So anyway, this man was talking about how shocked he was about all of these people working at this hotel, and he was talking about it to an Indian colleague, and the Indian colleague said, "Really? You think so?" And he said he thought about it for a minute, and then he said something. He said, "Well, actually, I had the opposite experience. I was flown to Helsinki in Finland once for a conference, and they put me up in a nice high-class Hyatt hotel." So he says, I take a taxi from the airport to the hotel, and the taxi driver drops me at the door, and there I stood, alone, all alone, and there was no one around to help me with my bags. And he wondered if the hotel had gone out of business. So he walked into the lobby, and it was empty, and there was only one woman behind the counter at the other end of the lobby, and he told her his name, and he said she checked him in, gave him his room key, and tells him to have a nice night. And he thought, what is this? What this is, kind of nonsense is this? How can a hotel have no staff? Am I just supposed to find the room by myself? And he said eventually he did, but he just thought it was outrageous, and he talked about it, to other people at the conference the next day, and they laughed at him, and he said, well, they said that's how things are done here. We just don't have a lot of staff, and he just thought it was really strange.
So you prefer the second one as well?
I prefer the second one because I like to be left alone. You like the first one?
No, but nowadays they have this kind of not very big hotel, but you have to check in through the electronics, and
Yes.
there are very few staff. I
Yes.
think I just found only one person there.
Yeah. Well, you
And
know,
nobody carries your bags, but that's the trouble, when you have to go. In Europe, they don't have elevator
I know,
sometimes.
I know, I know. I've once stayed in an old, beautiful hotel in Greece, and,
Yeah.
and I had a big bag, and my hotel room was like on the 8th floor, and I had to take the stairs. Yeah.
But it's nice to know different views of the people, how they
Yes.
want to serve you, to do,
Yes, yes.
do services for you.
Yeah. It's
And
interesting. It's
don't get
interesting.
annoyed by them. They have good intention.
Yes, it's just surprising.
Yeah.
We're just from the West, you're just not used to it. You're just not used to it. You just don't understand.
Oh, Achan, there's so many more we can talk about, but maybe next program.
Yes, I think we'll have to wait for the next program.
Thank you for
Thank you for
listening.
joining us, everyone.